Have you ever been phished? No, not that kind of phish. We're talking phishing cyber style, where malicious actors phish for information from victims, like login details, account numbers, or personal information. They can then use this information to make unlawful transactions or obtain unauthorized access to systems and data that don't belong to them, sometimes leading to data breaches or even financial loss. Here's 5 things you should know about phishing. Phishing is the biggest cybersecurity threat to any organization. Recent studies indicate that 90% of data breaches start with a phishing email. Hackers do use technical methods to hack into systems, but humans are much easier to crack than machines, and so phishing remains the fastest and easiest way to hack a system. For example, a malicious actor can obtain information like login details or passwords by asking for the details in a fake survey, or to convince a user that they can get free software by downloading a malicious file that ends up giving the hacker access to the user's device. Phishing is a form of social engineering. Our social interactions, whether online or in person, are based on some form of trust. Social engineering in phishing misuses that trust to evoke emotions like fear, curiosity, or excitement. This can be enough to convince someone to click on a link and provide their personal information, or download a malicious file that installs malware onto their computer. And so phishing is less about technology and very much about engineering human emotion. And that's why sometimes identifying a phishing email isn't just about noticing bad grammar. There are some common signs of phishing, but sometimes the emails look and sound very real, and people who are usually pretty smart about phishing will click anyway. More and more, through just observations of current events or a known situation, malicious actors are taking advantage of people's emotions to phish for information that can eventually let them access systems and confidential data. Phishing doesn't just happen over email. So as if email isn't enough, phishing can also happen through SMS or voice calls, or through fake sites known as pharming. But the basic idea is still the same: manipulating human emotion or trust to get information to eventually cause some form of harm. Phishing can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter where you live, what level you are at work, or if you're young or old. You could be anyone and still get phished. It could range from those annoying spam emails that blindly targets everyone, to spear phishing campaigns that target specific groups of people, perhaps in a specific industry or skill set, to obtain specific or classified information. Phishing targeting CEOs, CFOs, and other leadership positions is known as whaling, phishing for the big fish, who could yield more confidential information or provide access to critical systems. If that sounds like trouble, it is. So what can you do to avoid being phished? Well, before you click on any link or download any file, think before you click, especially if the email isn't expected or contains information you aren't familiar with. This takes just a few more seconds of consideration and could save you hours of worry later in case it really is a phishing link. Check the obvious. There can be some signs that you shouldn't ignore, especially if the domain name looks weird, or it's a company email sent from a personal account, or the language or grammar feels strange, given who the sender is. These aren't the only indicators, but they can be early warning signs that something's not right about this email. And finally, be a little skeptical. If the email sounds urgent, is causing you some panic, contains something unexpected, or is offering something free, be careful. These are usually the hooks before the fish. It's never a bad idea to get a second opinion with whoever the sender is supposed to be, or someone who can validate the email, especially if the message asks something of you and there's a link and file for you to interact with. For more information about phishing and what you can do to be click savvy, check out the links in the description. In the meantime, stay safe, stay vigilant, and think before you click.